Happy Wednesday morning. We're live, pal. This is the Going Broadway podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Alex and Cole with you this morning. Cole, what's going on?
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We're super excited to be here with you guys this morning.
And we wanted to start off the show right away by extending our humble thank you to all of our veterans, past and present. There's not enough that we could ever say or do to say thank you for your service. If there is anybody on here, and I know we've got a lot of people that have already flooded our chat stream, but if any of you watching or any of your family has served, let us know as we're kind of opening the show, because I want to specifically read those. And again, a special thank you to everybody. Andrew, good morning. Joshua is in the house. Good morning. Billy, good morning. Alan, good morning. Mastacholi, good morning. Iowa 563, good morning. Billy Jordan, good morning. Nate, good morning. Michael, good morning. Billy, good morning. Jeffrey Capo, Army National Guard vet. Jeffrey, thank you for your service. We appreciate it. Billy Jordan, an Iraq war veteran. Thank you. Joshua, your father was in the Army. Tell your dad a personal thank you from us at the Going Broadway podcast. So anything from you?
An overall blanket thank you to all the names you just mentioned.
Agreed. I mean,
and to all the ones that will listen to this after it's aired. We are incredibly thankful for those who have, and the families too. Thank you to your family. If you had a family member that is serving or served, thank you to your entire family, because that is a sacrifice that the entire family makes. So thank you.
It's just one of those things where, we want to be able to show our appreciation and say thank you, but I mean, it's just one of those things where there's, like I said, there's not anything we could do. There's never anything enough that we could do to say thank you. So it's just kind of like, I don't want to say it feels like it's white noise. But it's just one of those things, like, veterans deserve more than just Veterans Day.
Right.
They deserve more than just a parade. It's, Alan says, my brother served 6 years and 3 deployments to Iraq. My brother-in-law served. I don't think I'm allowed to say where he went to. I'm surprised that I know, but that's neither here nor there. So, I'll tell you what. Let's just talk some wrestling. If you joined us last week, you noticed that we have some changes to our setup and our layout. We're now going for if you guys have watched PTI on ESPN, kind of going for that style, and you can just see where we're at in the show. So as far as our top headlines, Cole and I were talking about this. It felt like there was a lot that went on this week, but nothing outside of the pay-per-view, which we're going to recap here in a little bit. There wasn't really a ton that stood out necessarily outside of the pay-per-view. One thing I did want to mention that so WWE is going to have to leave the is it the Amway Center? Is that what it's called? It's where the Orlando Magic play.
Right.
They're
Thunderdome.
Well, yeah. I just hate calling it that. It just seems so. It seems much more grand than what it really is. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's really cool what they've done. I mean, the interactive fan experience is kind of a cool thing, but now they're recycling video footage, so it's anyway. But apparently, they might be looking to go to a baseball stadium. How would you make that work if you're WWE? If you're going to continue this Thunderdome fan interactive experience? Did you hear about this?
No, I knew that they were. Last I read on this, I knew that the Thunderdome thing. There's so many conflicting reports too, because I've also read a ton of things that said that they signed the Amway Center for like a whole another year and all this stuff. So it's like I believe the report that says that they got to be leaving here soon.
Yeah, they can't share a facility with a professional sports team. I mean, they're going to need that throughout the week whenever they're not playing away games. But yeah, Michael says they're thinking about moving to Tropicana Field, which is where the Tampa Bay Rays play. And I'm curious what WWE's logic is, because
can they even close the top on that?
I think they can. Let's ask the Google.
Well, the reason why I ask
machine.
is that I don't usually think of most baseball stadiums as closed in.
Yeah, it's a dome stadium, so it's already enclosed.
Right.
But that's still, I get
a cold day though. Cold day at work with it.
Well, I mean, I don't see. It makes more sense whenever you're in. And maybe it doesn't. If anybody's watching, if you work at a professional sporting team's facility, stadium, whatever, let me know if I'm off base on this.
Andrew says it's a dome.
I just said that. I just said it's a dome.
Sorry.
That's all right. But to me, it seems like it'd be more logical to have your setup on a week-to-week basis be where an NBA team plays versus a baseball stadium. A baseball stadium, there's just so much openness. And I don't know how WWE would get that set up to where you've got, the whole interactive fan experience with all the smaller monitors and, the entrance to the ring and things like that. Maybe they'd make it work. I don't know. But it just seems like it would make more sense to find another facility that is, maybe it's where, I don't know, maybe it's where a minor league hockey team plays or something like that.
Someone said the Florida Panthers. I'm assuming that's like a semi-pro team of some sorts.
Well, the Florida Panthers were an NHL team. I didn't think they were an NHL team anymore. I guess they are. For some reason, I thought they were. One of those teams that moved. Anyway, where do they play? They play. My Google machine is running slow today. The BB&T Center. That is in Sunrise, Florida. Yeah, to me, it would make more sense that you would play, or you would hold your events in not such an open air area.
I don't know. I would even think that if they're trying to stay in the Florida area too, there's got to be like like theaters or something that you could even go with that they could book long term and pay that building a substantial amount of money to just let them use it for right now, because obviously a lot of shows aren't going on. There's not a lot of big concerts happening, all this stuff. WWE doesn't need to seat people. They just need a big enough area to set up their stuff and do what they do. So I would be curious to see why not even look at just like some kind of a theater or a kind of a bigger venue that's more concert based versus sports based, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The more I talk about it, the more I'm just like, maybe they should go to a baseball stadium, because I'm just curious what their setup would look like. I mean, I know they've been in baseball. I mean, they had Royal Rumble at
Houston.
Was it Houston or was it in Arizona? They had it at going back to the Google machine again.
Andrew says Houston.
Was it Houston? Minute Maid Park. It was Houston. For some reason, I was thinking Arizona. But they had it at Minute Maid Park, so they could make it work. But Royal Rumble is not your weekly episodic shows.
That's a pay-per-view.
Yeah,
you're talking about, and it had fans. I don't know. I just think that I've also read a rumor that they're looking to go back to traveling again and just booking an empty arena in different cities.
Well, they were looking at. Last I read, they were looking at one central location. Now, I agree. I read the rumors where they said that they had considered going from city to city, but still not have crowds. Last I read, they were still looking into locations in where's it at? feel so unprepared today. It's not even funny. I forgot where it was at, but Illinois was one of them. I think California was one of them. Basically the hot spots of COVID is where they were looking to go. And I'm just like, shouldn't you be eyeballing a place in like North Dakota or something like that?
Right.
I mean, if you're not having fans, what difference does it make? And it's probably going to be cheaper from a lease standpoint if you go to one of those states. But I don't know, maybe they don't have the production capabilities and facilities whenever you go to states like that. I don't know. Yeah, I agree with Steven. Baseball stadiums should be used for big pay-per-views. It doesn't make sense that you would try to go to a large open air facility from multiple standpoints. Again, you have the whole open air what's the word I'm looking for? Just the logic doesn't make sense. You've got all this. You don't have the trusses and things like that you would have in a normal stadium, or not even a stadium, just like like the Amway Center. You know, it's a smaller facility that's specifically for not just basketball games, but you have concerts there and things like that, where you're not going to have to put in the extra work to install extra trusses and things like that. You've already got the apparatus above you. Not to mention from a financial standpoint, I can't imagine how much they'd have to pay the city. I mean, I don't know if it'd go to the Rays or if it would go to the city of Tampa, but leasing Tropicana Field would cost a little extra change, wouldn't you think? Joshua says it. Yeah, okay, it was in Phoenix the year before. That's why I was thinking that. Ian, good morning. Masachule says, I think the Allstate Arena in Rosemont would be perfect. I think that was one of the locations they were thinking when they were discussing Illinois. They've held many WWE shows there, from pay-per-view to house shows. Bonnie, good morning. So, I don't know. It's interesting to see where they're going to go. But regardless of where they go, they've got, if I'm counting correctly, 3 weeks. Not even 3 weeks, I think. So
I bet you they have something already done in the works. They just haven't announced it yet.
Well, they probably got a team that has multiple locations that are, they're ready to push the button on maybe one of 4 or 5 locations. It's just a matter of figuring out, all right, what's going to be best for us if you're WWE.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they've already got something lined up in all of these locations that were rumored in the first place. To me, it just seems like a baseball stadium makes the least sense. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. What else is something we can talk about before we go into the pay-per-view? Like I said, guys, our top headlines usually there will be 3 or 4 different things that we can pick from
that are major. They just they were so major that you couldn't forget about them.
Outside of the pay-per-view that we're going to discuss shortly,
Right.
But it seemed like a lot of the major stuff was on the pay-per-view. Jamie, good morning.
Oh, we could talk about that. Yeah. AEW video game.
We can talk about it, but
Yeah.
I'm not a gamer, so
I'll say it like this. I'm excited. It's being made by Ukes, which was the WWE's old provider of the video game, and a lot of people enjoy that game, that provider better than what 2K has been able to do with it. And so I'm excited. I hope that AEW has read the reviews on the newer WWE games, and even the reviews that were made of the TNA game years ago, the Impact game, and learn from it and go from there. Alan brings up a good one. Nia Jax has injured somebody else.
Yeah, so there was a rumor that she injured Mandy Rose.
Mandy Rose, yep.
I've watched the
video.
There's a video. Well, I guess technically it was a GIF because there wasn't sound, but I've watched it a few times, and I will say it doesn't look like Nia Jax was really at fault necessarily. I mean, she didn't do anything that was out of the ordinary as far as at least her side of things, as far as tossing her out. Don't get me wrong. I would love to jump on the Nia Jax bandwagon and say she injured somebody just as a means to say she should not be in the wrestling business, but in all fairness, I didn't see anything out of the ordinary in this instance.
Without recapping the entire match, there was another spot she did, though, in her match with Asuka. Yeah, Asuka. And she was supposed to throw her into the barricade, and she, like, basically just dropped her on accident. Like, went to swing her, and instead just Asuka smacked onto the floor instead of the barricade. And that one looked rough. The Mandy Rose spot, it looked bad. And I definitely think, I hope that her shoulder is good to go and whatnot, that it's not a long-term injury. But, it's this one looks more like it could have been 50-50. Maybe Mandy thought that Nia would have pushed her harder or would have gave a better toss maybe, and it caused her to fumble in the ropes. Maybe she just fumbled in the ropes and landed awkward. But, yeah, it sucks that it – I would say it sucks for Nia that it happened during her match and her spot because she has a history of these things.
Yeah, I've been very vocal about the fact that I don't think Nia Jax should be in the place that she's in, but in my opinion, she is just because of who she knows, who she's related to, etc. So again, I'd love to say Nia Jax, this was absolutely her fault, but I honestly, I think you have, in this case, two inexperienced performers, because Mandy Rose isn't exactly a veteran.
To be fair,
sorry, I'm sorry. I don't want to use that. I apologize. That was not meant to be used in bad taste. I shouldn't have used the word veteran. A legend, I guess. I don't know. She hasn't been around that long. Is what I meant to say.
Whatever you want to go. I would say that the whole Raw team is very, the Raw women's team is very
inexperienced.
Green, maybe.
That's a good way to put it.
Is a good way to put it. I mean, Nia's pretty green. Shayna is probably the most consistent performer on the team, which is kind of sad to say because she's just only been called up to the main roster for a little over a year now, probably, give or take.
We usually save questions for our fan mail, but I want to answer this. Jamie says, so if she was on your payroll, what would you do if you're in Vince's position? I would make her do a whole lot of off of TV training and in-ring work and play it by ear.
We've definitely talked about this before, and I would say that she definitely, in my opinion, needs to go down to NXT.
I wouldn't even put her in NXT.
The reason why I said that, though, is because you don't have to feature her every week. Here's the thing. Raw is in a position, SmackDown is in a position where they have to have people featured every week. It's one of those types of shows. NXT, they kind of can get away with these, she shows up every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, but she's training nonstop. It gives her more time to work on those spots that they want to do with I've talked about this before. Name a big woman in the WWE right now that's not Nia Jax. Like a big, WWE's had their big shows, their big men. Name a big woman for her to learn from, for her to grow with, for her to get experience from. There just really isn't one. And
There's never really been one.
Right.
I mean,
Awesome Kong. We talked about a few, but even Awesome Kong was probably considered green.
I was about to say, there's not ever really been, in my opinion, a female performer of that size that's been good in the ring that Nia could learn from.
So we've talked about her needing to work with a big man, whether it's a Big Show, who's around there a lot. Mark Henry is very involved with WWE and kind of talent searching and whatnot there. Maybe it's Kane, maybe it's Undertaker if he wants to take that role. But there are Rikishi, she's got people in her family she can learn from. But she needs to learn from somebody how to do that. And I think if you drop her down to NXT so she doesn't lose her credibility, because I do think she has credibility, but she doesn't lose her credibility, you can use her to kind of elevate the women's division again in NXT, which I'm starting to feel like is dwindling in a sense, and then use that time to kind of actually form some what's the word? Some attributes of wrestling, and not just being the big. She's kind of got like a Great Khali vibe to me. Like she doesn't really have any skill. She's just big. And with Kali, it worked to an extent until that gimmick got old, and now it's getting to the point where Nia just being big is getting old. And now she actually needs to be able to put on good matches, and the way they want to do that is by her doing these monster, type things, but it's dangerous, and it's putting a lot of their better wrestlers on the shelf. So
right. Yeah, I mean, I got to say that, let's put it this way. I think Nia Rose is green, and she should not be, because she's been an in-ring performer. If you count, she was in NXT for a while prior to coming to the main roster.
Of NXT. She was kind of like a Lacey Evans almost. She was just there, and they just decided to bring her up in the Revolution.
But she has had a prominent TV role, if you count NXT as a prominent TV role, for 3 years maybe, and I'm not factoring in when she was injured. I'm just
right.
Okay. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Let's say 2 years. Even if you have been an in-ring performer on TV for 2 years, you should not be green anymore. Mandy Rose, I would say, she's not green. She's a step above that, whatever you would call that. I mean, she's still inexperienced. So that's why I'm just kind of erring on the side of, maybe this, kind of like you said, maybe this was 50-50, maybe just a miscommunication that could happen with any two performers.
Especially when you put two of the same caliber in the ring, though. Mandy needs like an experienced person in the ring with her so that it elevates her.
Right, I agree.
You got to kind of elevate the next person in the ring, and when you got two people who really can't elevate each other, but you're told to do that, it can get kind of dangerous. So
Billy says she needs to work on her cardio so she doesn't get blown up and make mistakes. I think that is part of it. I think part of her mistakes is she's not exactly in the best cardio shape. I'm not talking about her just weight or body appearance or whatever. You can tell in the ring she gets gassed pretty quick.
Right.
And that could be leading to some of her mistakes. So I'll tell you what, let's change gears, no pun intended, and talk about Full Gear. Let's go into that recap. So as we're talking about this, guys, let us know what you thought about the pay-per-view. And for now, we're going to go match by match, and I will reserve my overall take on the pay-per-view towards the end. And I'm actually going to that's going to be kind of a lead into our unpopular opinions as well. So on the pre-show, we had Serena Deeb defending the NWA Women's Championship against Allison Kay. I did not get a chance to watch this match. Excuse me. So I don't know either way if it was a good match, bad match, somewhere in the middle. So I'm not going to include that in my overall review of the event. The match went a little over 10 minutes. Serena Deeb retained. Just a little bit of background. Serena Deeb actually defeated Thunder Rosa a week or two ago.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
For the belt. That led to rumors that Thunder Rosa was having interest from WWE. Obviously, she's had interest from AEW. Her contract with NWA actually does not run out until next year.
Right.
So at the very least, we won't see her on WWE until next year if she decides to go that route. Now, obviously, we're seeing the NWA and AEW have this partnership that they're experimenting with, I guess. After the match, Thunder Rosa made her appearance, made it known that she's not done with this feud yet. So, do you think we should see a Serena Deeb Thunder Rosa match on AEW programming, or do you think they should just keep that for NWA's shows?
Well, first off, let's address the elephant in the room. We also had Don Callis on this pay-per-view, who
I was going to get there, but that was next match.
But
continue.
This goes into my point, though. Don Callis, EVP of Impact. I think AEW is taking advantage of a prime opportunity here to work with companies who have been really kind of shut down and hurt even more by the pandemic and the things of COVID and whatnot. And NWA had something really cool going before the pandemic. It wasn't like blowing up per se, but they had some good stuff going. One of which was Thunder Rosa and her title run and what was going on there. And I think that them trying to elevate this match and kind of elevate Thunder Rosa and NWA and kind of highlighting that is them trying to help out pro wrestling, which goes back to their hearts, is that we want to see people succeed and we don't want to see people get taken advantage of. And so I do think it would get more views and more watches if AEW was to be the one broadcasting as Serena Deeb, Thunder Rosa match 2 in a sense, rematch, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I don't think they should necessarily save it because I don't think people will watch it if it's not on AEW. I think their viewership has gone way down, which is why you've seen so much team up with NWA stars and matches, and what we might eventually see here soon with Impact as well.
Okay, so my next question is, should they pull? And this is kind of a more broad question. Should they pull any non-AEW title changes on AEW? So, for instance, the NWA Women's title, Kenny Omega is AAA champion. Should they go the route of having any title changes on their programming that aren't AEW?
I mean, one, that's a communication thing, I guess, between the two promotions. You know, I think AAA has been pretty clear that they don't necessarily want stuff like that to happen.
Well, this is assuming they would allow it,
right? You know, I think if you're on the same page, that is something like, for instance, let's take Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa. If I was to see, if I would have saw Serena Deeb beat Thunder Rosa on an AEW show or pay-per-view or whatever you want to call it, it might have interested me to watch NWA a little bit more. Because I have no idea. For me, Serena Deeb has been an AEW dark worker. I have no idea who Serena Deeb is. I know she's kind of a women's kind of legend in the back room, in the locker room. She's kind of been around. And
well, you remember she was part of CM Punk's.
Yeah, I mean, I know who. Yeah, but that.
No, I was just making sure.
First off, she was terrible in CM Punk's little straight edge society.
She wasn't great.
That's what I'm saying is that I know she's kind of known in the locker room and has been a mentor in a sense to a lot of women, which is all great, but she has never really impressed me. And when you're an AEW dark kind of wrestler on TV, but then in NWA you're like a top contender for a belt, like there's inconsistencies there. So my only thing would be is that if AEW is going to continue to do this, you can't put Serena Deeb in your AEW dark matches and never really give her a highlighted spot on TV and then convince me that the first time she's on highlighted TV, she's winning a belt. So I think the booking would have to be a little bit different where, for instance, Thunder Rosa came in on highlighted TV with the belt on and said, I'm Thunder Rosa and I'm fighting Sheeta.
Right.
And that was different. So to answer your question, I'm not against them changing belts on TV that are not AEW belts. I think it still elevates AEW if that happens, because you get the pleasure of putting the match on. You're still getting the ratings and the views for the match. So I don't think it really is a problem for them. I think it all kind of boils down to, do the other pay-per-views or do the other promotions, I should say, want to have their belts being changed hands on other people's shows?
No, I agree. And the basis for my question is, again, if the other promotion would give their okay for it to happen, I don't think AEW needs it necessarily, at least as far as booking the title changes on their shows. But I'd very much love to see AEW push this working relationship further, not just with NWA, not just with Impact, but branch out to everybody. Jesse said Ring of Honor, New Japan, obviously. I'd love to see Nick Aldis showed up. Jamie just said this. Would love to see Aldis or someone else big from the promotion show up as show up on Dynamite. I
didn't even mention that during the pay-per-view.
Yeah. I mean, Cody and Nick had their exchanging of the NWA title prior to AEW forming. So I think AEW could benefit from multiple avenues. People have said on our chat thread, AEW's women division is rather lackluster compared to NWA. I mean, you could even say Impact's women's division is better than AEW's, or at least right up on par. So I could see this partnership that we've discussed this ad nauseum on our podcast over and over, that AEW should form these partnerships for the betterment of everybody.
Don't want them to overuse it though. And
well, no.
And I think a lot of people that talk about them forming these partnerships want them to just kind of jump like head first into this idea and really kind of maybe overdo it. I think, at most you only need to allow like a mixture of one storyline at a time. So, right now we're doing this thing with the women's division, one, because the AEW women's division is an atrocity. And I don't even think it's because of talent more than it is booking. But, there is that aspect. So you're bringing in NWA women's, maybe some Impact women's wouldn't be bad as well. We talked about this the other night. But once that's kind of done, then maybe you can bring in a Nick Aldis and do like a storyline there, or a Marty Scurll, or maybe someone from New Japan. Bring somebody in and do some of those things. We've also talked about tag teams. Impact has a lot of great tag teams out there. Maybe we do some storylines with some other tag teams.
And I'll just kind of put a bow on this topic that we talked about a little longer than what I thought, but that's okay. I don't want to see an invasion angle.
No.
It just needs to be strictly talent exchange partnerships, and I agree. Maybe a storyline here and there, make it a special thing,
right?
But can't be an influx of
show versus show.
This might be an unpopular opinion. As much as I would selfishly love to hear the Bullet Club's theme pop up on AEW and then walk out on Dynamite, at the same time, I don't want to see it because I don't want to see an invasion angle. I don't think it's necessary.
It could really ruin how special the Bullet Club is too.
Right.
So,
okay, let's get into the actual event. The match surprisingly kicked off with Kenny Omega against Hangman Adam Page. We watched this live together, and we were all just like so shocked that this opened the card. Now, I don't disagree with the decision. Inevitably, I think it was a good opener. I think it fit well with how the pay-per-view in its entirety played out. The match itself, I think it was a good opener, but part of me also thinks if they would have moved this match to later in the card, A, it would have been given more time, and B, it would have been a better match. Now, maybe they didn't want this is going to sound counterintuitive because it's wrestling, but maybe they didn't want a better wrestling match for storyline purposes. I don't know. Maybe they're AEW, we've said this before, AEW is good at long-term booking, long-term storytelling, down to the details. Maybe they purposely had this type of above-average match, but not an excellent match, because maybe that's coming down the line. I don't know. Because if Kenny Omega, and don't get me wrong, I think Kenny Omega is fully capable of going out and putting on at least a 4.5-star match just about every night, almost regardless of who he's in the ring with. I would probably give this match 3 3/4 stars. Again, I think it was a good opener. If I'm being generous, I might give it 4 stars, and I'm not going to give stars for every single match. I'm just kind of putting in perspective what I thought of the match. It was a good opener. Inevitably, Kenny Omega gets the win in a little over 16 minutes. What did you think of the match?
I'm kind of with you. I almost think I would have rather have saw this match just a little bit later in the card, only because I expected these two to throw on a potential match of the year candidate type of match. And I think that's why I was just a little underwhelmed, because I don't feel like they did that. I don't feel like it was match of the year quality. I don't think it was even match of the night quality. I think it was a good match. It was booked as an opener match, and I think it did its purpose. I don't think it was bad by any means. I think it was good. I do think the storytelling in this particular instance is a little poor.
I did expect more from a storytelling standpoint. Also,
from a storytelling point, we've been building this. We've been building this. You have these two in the most predictable tournament I think I've ever seen in wrestling. To book a number one contender, You put these two on the opposite sides of the brackets. Every time they come out, you talk about the storyline and all this stuff. You had this awesome match. They kind of show respect for each other at the beginning, and at the very end, you have Kenny win, and nothing. No Kenny heel turn, no Adam Page heel turn, no shaking of hands, like nothing. Just done. And we were all just kind of sitting there like, really? And I think that would actually be like the slogan for this pay-per-view for me is the word really with a question mark, because I feel like after every match there was just a question that we had about it, something that we were just expecting that didn't come. So,
and that could be in part because AEW has more plans for multiple storylines that we saw during the pay-per-view that maybe haven't played out yet.
Right.
I don't know. That could be the case, but I feel like I agree from your perspective of a lot of these question marks weren't question marks of, okay, I'm intrigued, I want to see where this goes. It was more question marks of, are you sure that was the right call to make and for the storyline? But we don't work for AEW, so who knows?
We just expect, especially with pay-per-views, we expect something big to happen. And I think this match I had high expectations that weren't met, which is probably more on my end. I expected this match to be just mind-blowing, and it was more just like, okay, that was good. And I think that had I not went in with such high expectations, I might have been a little bit more wowed by this match. But it was good. Good opener. Served its purpose. Interested to see what they do with Kenny and what they do with Hangman Page going forward from here.
The next match, we had Orange Cassidy against John Silver. Orange gets the win. And by the way, I'll just throw this out there. I think we tied with our predictions.
We did.
Okay. So I predicted Kenny. I think you predicted Hangman.
Yeah,
so
I started the show off pretty rough.
So Orange Cassidy gets the win. We both predicted Orange getting the win here. This match I actually went almost 10 minutes. I was surprised by how good this match was in the time that it was given. It had some cool spots. I didn't really have any expectations for this match. Maybe that's why I thought it was better than what I thought it was going to be, because I honestly didn't have much investment in the match. Maybe that's not the right word, but they didn't do a whole lot of build up for this match. I mean, they didn't just throw it on the card, but I mean, they kind of started tease this mini storyline match, whatever you want to call it, like maybe 2 weeks prior.
Right.
It originally was going to be on the pre-show, and then they moved it to the main card. I mean, it was good for what it was.
It was. I'm glad they moved it off the buy-in, because I felt like this match was really good. It was probably the shocker match of the night because you didn't really have any expectations of it. You kind of went in, you were like, oh, this was going to be on the buy-in. So, like, again, you didn't really think much of the match. And then these guys go out here and they put on a really good match. The two guys, one, I don't really watch a whole lot of John Silver's matches. I don't know how many people do, but I'm not one to pay much attention to him, because he kind of falls in the background of Dark Order's pecking order of people who are...
On paper, this had the match of, okay, this is when I'm going to get up and go to the bathroom or get something to drink or grab a snack or whatever. And if you missed this match, I mean, like I said, the match went just under 10 minutes, but for what time it was given, it was a good match.
It was really good. Really served no purpose, but it was a good match. Was not upset with it at all.
Okay, next match, shocker of the night, although I predicted it. Darby Allin defeats Cody to win the TNT Championship. The match went right at 17 minutes. I'm kind of equating this to the opening match. It was good for what it was, but at the same time, I didn't have a ton of expectation that this match was going to be like an instant classic by any means. So I don't know. I've been reading that this match was actually a lot better if you were there live as opposed to watching it on TV. And I don't know, obviously, I don't know if that's the case because I wasn't there live, but from what I've heard, those that were there live and then went back and watched it on TV said that it was much better live. So that could have been a factor as well, but people have been raving about this match on social media, and I was just kind of like, good. But did I watch the same match that you did? I mean, there were some cool spots. Someone even on the chat thread mentioned the Avalanche Crossroads off the top rope. But inevitably, the most devastating move in the world of wrestling. Actually, this wasn't a roll up. This was more of a cradle, I think. But Darby got the win. Darby wins the TNT title. So, what did you think of the match?
I was really upset
because you got it wrong.
Well, yeah, the night was a rough start because I went 1 for 2 in the first 3 matches.
1 and 2, you mean?
Yeah.
You said 1 for 2.
One for whatever. 1 and 2.
That'd have been 1 for 3.
Yeah. What?
Continue.
It was bad. Okay, we don't have to talk about it. It was bad. And if I'm gonna get this wrong, I at least wanted the lights to hit, and I wanted to hear a ah, and I wanted Sting to come to the ring and with a bat, and I wanted him to just start swinging for the fences. And nothing came of it. It was a good match. We got to hear Cody Rhodes' name said for the first time in AEW, so that was cool, and kind of a silent victory in a sense, in itself, to be able to do that on this pay-per-view and announce it that way. So I was cool with the match. I'm cool. Shout out to Darby Allin, because I know that a lot of people were curious if he was ever going to get to be champion. We've kind of been down. We talked about this. He's had several shots.
Yep.
And the storyline was kind of played on that that Darby couldn't be the face of TNT, that he couldn't be a TNT champion, that TNT didn't want him to be champion, all those things.
Cole, you must have been practicing your crow call. It's getting better.
Yeah, Alex has been making fun of me every time I do it. So
in all fairness, that one you did just now wasn't too bad.
All right, I practiced in the mirror. I literally practiced in the mirror this morning. I did some warm-ups, but I'll say this. I think the reason why people think this match is really good is because people are Darby Allin fans and have been waiting for Darby Allin to have a shining moment.
I mean, it was an underdog type match.
And it definitely did its purpose. I wasn't wowed by the match, but it was good. And again, shout out to Darby Allin. I'm interested to see if he gets a lengthy title run or how quickly this could be over.
I hope he's not a transitional champion, because I feel like AEW is better than that. I mean, just for lack of a better way of putting it, I feel like AEW is better than just... I feel like having a transitional champion in any company, on any brand, is lazy booking. Now, I'm sure people would disagree with that, but I feel like you can get to a point where you can create a storyline, put the belt on whoever you want to put it on, but not have the intermediary, not have that transitional champion. I think I've always thought that's a poor booking concept in wrestling. That's another topic for a different day. But
side question real quick. What do you do with Cody now?
That's what has me intrigued. I don't really know. I'm surprised that he lost. Inevitably, I was surprised he lost the belt for 3 reasons. A, he's able to use his Cody Rhodes name, because that's a big deal.
Right.
That's a big deal. 2, he's got this entire Nightmare Family entourage out with him. He had the additions of the Gun Club, yeah. And I forgot the other guy's name. But they had 3 additions: Austin Gunn, Billy Gunn, and the other guy whose name I can't think of. And what was my 3rd reason?
Was it the fact that Darby Allin's challenged 473 times for this?
No. I forgot what direction I was going with that 3rd reason, but nonetheless, because I feel like Cody Rhodes has this. I feel like his stuff with Brody Lee never got resolved. Which, by the way, side note, we've not heard from Brody Lee for weeks.
We mentioned that as well during the pay-per-view. It's no Brody Lee.
He's not on social media. If you follow him on Twitter, he would always be today. He would be like, today is Tuesday. You know what that means, or however he would phrase it. He's not made a tweet since he lost to Cody. He said he gave Cody some kind of compliment, and then he's not even been on Twitter. So, not to get off on a tangent, but I was just that was my logic, because there was nothing really
resolved yet,
and it just it's like Brody Lee just dropped off the face of the earth.
Right.
So I don't know.
Do you think that they're going to go with this whole Cody can't challenge for the belt, but Cody Rhodes can challenge for the AEW World Championship?
I didn't think of that, but Cody's been doing media appearances, and he continues to be asked about that, and he's really sticking to his guns and saying, no, that's something I will not ever do unless somehow he transitions to this mega heel that, just completely defies and goes against everything he said to this point. What are you reading?
Travis. He said Cody feuds with best friends for custody of Orange Cassidy.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. That was funny.
All right.
Let's
moving on.
Move it on.
Worst match maybe the AEW's had on a pay-per-view at least.
Maybe period.
Hikaru Shida against Nyla Rose. This match went 14 minutes. It went 13 minutes too long, in my opinion. Nyla Rose, granted, I don't think she's injured anybody like Nia Jax, but I would put her in that same boat with Nia Jax. I don't feel like Nyla Rose is ready for the role that she's been put in.
I'll say this. So I don't think the match was bad from a wrestling standpoint. I don't think that their wrestling was the problem. It just didn't need to happen, period. The storyline was dead. They've already done this match twice. And I'm pretty sure 2 out of 3 now has been Shida's won. Shida lost the first time to Nyla, but then beat her and has beat her now has beat her twice. The storyline just didn't need to happen. She had already conquered Nyla. There was no need to go that route.
I think what AEW is trying to do is just the whole rematch clause and things like that.
And
but
keeping true to their number one contender, how they do their number one contenders with actually using rankings and
but they don't stick to that either. That's what's
right. They're trying to keep that alive because every time that they did this story, it was Nyla's the number one contender, but they had Shida versus Big Swole or Shida versus Britt Baker in a dentist match, or that was Big Swole. But I'm saying like they were doing all these different, kind of title Thunder Rosa, different matches and whatnot. But I don't know. I just didn't think this thing needed to happen. I think Alex and I were talking about this when we were watching Full Gear. I think they should have went the route of going with Britt Baker. I think that would have been a long-term storyline that you could have built with her and Shida. And eventually, I think you got to put the belts on Britt. If you want to elevate, this is a perfect example of what we're talking about when we say that that the AEW's women's division is weak. Is because even with the two of what you and I would probably say the AEW is trying to book as the top women in the company, other than Britt Baker. I mean, let's think about it. There's Britt Baker, there's Shida, and then who's next?
I love Travis's comments. Vicky needs to squash Nyla Rose in a loser leaves town match.
Well, and they even teased that at the end of the match of like Vicky and Nyla,
But by that point, I don't feel like AEW could do anything with Nyla Rose that would make me even remotely interested. She's not good in the ring.
Right.
And that might be another unpopular opinion. People might be behind her in the ring. I'm not. She's slow, clumsy. I don't know if she's afraid of hurting her opponent, a la Nia Jax, but you can tell that she really just is not aggressive on her strikes. She doesn't know how to throw a worked punch, maybe. I don't really know, but none of it looks believable.
Yeah, Britt. Ultimately, this match to me just shouldn't have happened. It wasn't even that it was. Again, I go back to the match wasn't like it was so bad you couldn't watch it. It was more like it was just boring. Nobody cared about this match. Nobody cares about the storyline. Honestly, nobody wanted Nyla to win it in the first place. I didn't see one thing across the board as far as the different groups and stuff I'm in where people are like, yeah, Nyla's going to win, or or for a Nyla. Nobody wants that. So I'm definitely more of a we should have never had this match. I agree. It went really long. It felt even longer than 13, 14 minutes, whatever it was.
Oh, yeah.
It felt so long. We sat there just like, okay, when is this match going to be over? And so definitely worst match of the night. Could potentially be the worst match AEW has had on a pay-per-view, period.
I think it is their worst match that they've ever had on a pay-per-view.
And so I definitely think this is a learning lesson. Grow from this. Don't book matches that, in my opinion, are dead.
And that sucks for Shida because Shida is good in the ring, but you cannot put, and I'm not equating Shida to Ric Flair. I'm just trying to make an analogy. Even Ric Flair, one of the best in-ring performers of all time, did not have a great match with everybody. He had some duds. You can't put somebody in the ring with someone else that doesn't complement their style and expect a good match.
Right. It definitely goes back to you got to make sure you're pairing up people that actually can put together something exciting to watch. And we've seen this match already twice. Everything they did, there was nothing new to this match that was like, oh, that was cool. Nothing. They even repeated spots that were like, oh, they did that last time. And it was like, okay, well, let's move on. So I definitely think they need to learn from this. We need to see Shida versus Britt Baker. Let that be a little bit of a lengthy storyline. Take it to your next pay-per-view, great. But we need to see something different in the women's division. And honestly, they need to start. I know they had big plans for Chris Statlander, and she got hurt. But they need to start building up some other women in their division and quickly because they're going to run out of storylines here fast.
Agreed. So we go from the worst match possibly in AEW pay-per-view history to easily match of the night, in my opinion. Cole might disagree because he's not really an FTR guy, but Young Bucks and FTR tag title match, and this match was everything I was hoping it would be. They had some really cool spots. They busted out all of the
retro,
the Legends tandem finishers, except Demolition. They didn't do the where he sets the guy on his knee and then does the elbow off the second rope. But they did the Steiner's Bulldog. They did the 3D. They did the Hardys. Twist of Fate into the what's Jeff's Swanton.
Yeah.
I'm missing it. And they did the Arden Tully tandem pile driver. So those spots were all cool. I don't remember if it was Dax or Cash, but one of them ended up doing the shooting star, and you actually called it.
I called two because the funny part was we were talking about all the tag team things that they were doing, and I said, wouldn't it be just hilarious if they did a 3D? And then like 2 seconds later, we saw a 3D. And then I was telling Alex and Austin that I was, watching the Talk Is Jericho podcast that I believe it's Dash. I don't know I can't remember.
Dax and Cash.
I can't remember who. Cash is the one that did it. He was talking about in the Talk Is Jericho podcast that when he was in NXT, he could do a 450 splash. He said, I can do a 450 splash, but our gimmick and what we do has never allowed me or never called for me to do it. He goes, we stick to old school kind of tag team wrestling, and we don't really do anything from the top rope. And I said, he can do it, and I bet you he busts it out here.
And it makes sense from a storyline standpoint because they've always said no flips, just fists. Well, inevitably, it was that 450 that he missed, gets a super kick. It costs him the match, costs him the tag titles.
Yeah.
So good match, great storytelling. I agree with Jason Fee. They didn't do a Doomsday device. I was kind of disappointed with that. They didn't do the Demolition. I forgot what. I think Demolition's finisher is called like the Execution or something like that. But great match. I mean, I don't have a ton else to say about it. I would give it 5 stars. I'm not Dave Meltzer, but if you can keep me that intrigued and invested in a match with little to no crowd, then you're doing something right. I mean, it's going back to the Walter Dragunov match. If it's whether it's storytelling, in-ring performance, combination of both, good storyline leading up to the match, you can have a 5-star match with little to no crowd. We've seen it. It's a crowd adds to it. Don't get me wrong, but it was a good match. It was a good lead up. Hopefully Matt is not injured because they were going to have a match tonight. They had announced that they had a tag title defense against a team. I don't even remember what their name was, but then they took it off, retracted it, whatever. But your thoughts?
Are you ready? So
I wish I would have had the DX. Are you ready?
Are you ready? So this was match of the night for me. I definitely think this literally took the show, and it wasn't even close. I don't think there was any other match that even came close to this match last night or the other night. Very exciting match to watch. I agree. When you can keep my attention like that, you have something special going. Was glad this is where the pay-per-view turned around for me, because this is where I got one right that Alex got wrong. So this is where I started.
It wasn't 100% wrong. I kind of pigeonholed myself or put myself in a box by calling an hour time limit draw.
So he went real specific. So it put me back into the window to tie, which was nice. So I was happy about that. But here's where I said, are you ready? This was for me the best FTR match I have ever seen. And I am including their NXT days. I am including their whole entire body of work. This is the best FTR match that I have ever seen. You've heard me go on record before. I don't think FTR is the best tag team. I don't think they're in the top 2. I don't think FTR is in the top 5. I don't think FTR is in that conversation. But it's been booked that way.
I thought you were going to say you don't have FTR in your top 10 tag teams right now.
Current tag teams, they would be very on the back end of that list for me.
If they're in your top 10, then okay. If they're not,
in the top 10, but they are definitely not at a high point in my top 10. They are probably somewhere between 8 and 10.
I'd probably put them at like 6.
They just and it's nothing against them. I just am not intrigued by them at all. But this was their best match that I have seen. I probably should have saved that for my unpopular opinion, because I know a lot of people are high on them. But to book this, I think this is why I had an issue with this match, though. To book this match as like the match that everybody's wanted to see, I don't care to see this match at all. Like at the point of when we were talking about booking, and I was like, I've never really thought, what if FTR was to fight the Young Bucks? It just never crossed my mind. There are so many other tag teams that I was like, what if the Young Bucks fought them? And FTR was not in that conversation. But match of the night, best match I've seen FTR put on, and great match by the Young Bucks. In the heat of the moment, watching it, and I was like, man, this might have been one of the better Young Buck matches I've seen. But I forgot about the Revolution match, so I wouldn't put it above that after kind of thinking about it. But this was a really good Young Bucks match, and probably one of the better matches we've seen from Young Bucks in a while, just because they've not been booked to win much on AEW programming. So it's cool to see them with the belts finally, and I'm interested to see what kind of tag team masterpieces we see from here. I'm sure we'll get an FTR best of 3 series at some point, but I hope they don't just stick right to that. I hope we get to see some other tag teams.
Next match, we've got the Elite Deletion match. Matt Hardy defeats Sammy Guevara, and this match actually went almost 20 minutes. This was, in my opinion, it was the cinematic match. This was interesting. I mean,
to say the least.
You had cameos from Gangrel, from Hurricane Helms. Inner Circle got involved. Private Party got involved. This had some. Okay, so in my opinion, this was mostly comedic, whether it was meant to be that way or not. Obviously, some of it was, because they're having a Roman candle war, which is not something a lot of you probably would ever thought you'd hear on a wrestling podcast, but nonetheless, they had their own trenches. They were having a Roman candle war. At one point, Sammy was rolling in a bunch of mud, having Roman candles shot point blank right at him. But I'm going to fast forward right to the end of the match. Credit to either Sammy, the camera guy, or both, but that table shot that chair shot he took at the end looked nasty. That looked stiff. Now, the reason I'm wondering if it was legit or not, because the impact of that, you would almost thought he would have been busted open. And it didn't look like he was. Now, I get it. There's editing and things like that. But at the same time, I don't know if that was live or not. It didn't seem like it was. But at one point, and I forgot what it was, at one point during the match, there was something that happened that made me think, well, maybe this isn't pre-recorded. Maybe this is actually happening live or on a few second delay or something like that. But then that happened, and I was like, surely this is pre-recorded, because, I mean, either it's pre-recorded and he took the shot for real, got bloodied up, but then they cleaned it up, which to me wouldn't make sense, or it was live and it was just good camera work. But regardless, that chair shot on the butt end of the chair, by the way, the armrest of the chair, I mean, that looked brutal. And then, at the end, they stuffed him in a trash can. And it's funny, they actually continued the storyline on social media, like either Santana and Ortiz saying that they were out in the woods looking for him, and this would have been like midnight our time. And
well, they say something like a Hispanic, a vampire, and something else in the woods.
I got to look it up real quick.
It was a funny comment. While you're looking at it, I'll share just
it's something like a Hispanic, I'll look it up. Go ahead and say what you're going to say, because I don't want to butcher it.
So this match was a momentum shift to the pay-per-view. I'll say that. It was exciting. It was funny. It was entertainment for sure. And that's why I think it was enjoyable to watch. The only thing about this match that I think I would criticize is that I didn't like that there was a ring out in the middle of the woods. So what was the post?
I'm still looking. No, I'm laughing at you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, here we go. 2 Puerto Ricans and a vampire now searching through the woods for our friend.
Yep, that's pretty funny. So I didn't really like that there was just a random ring in the middle of the woods. I think that was for Sammy's benefit more than anything, but I didn't really care for the ring in the woods. But I will say some of the bright spots for me was when Matt Hardy was on the ground, like Call of Duty style with fireworks, shooting them and like army crawling across the ground. That was funny. Just the shots of Matt Hardy lighting Sammy up. Sammy is just so good at these like kind of gimmick spots where he's got to really sell it. We saw him sell the golf cart hit so many times.
To me, that's still top 3 AEW moments since they've
Stadium
started.
Stampede match where he took some of those. He took the whole length of the field of getting German suplexed and got put through.
Took the one-winged angel off the whatever that thing's called.
Highlight machine. He's made some mistakes, but he has a highlight machine. And so the fireworks spot where he's just getting lit up with Roman candles was hilarious. I will say the lines with Hurricane Helms was funny. Dude, where you been? It's been like 2 years, and Matt Hardy's like long-term storytelling. And I just thought that was creative. It was funny. Hurricane Helms coming back as like an announcer once he went into the Lake of Reincarnation was funny. Wouldn't have minded to see him come back as just Gregory Helms on a different time and play with different versions of Gregory Helms. And the different things he's done in the business. And then we got Gannon-Grell, which was just shocking. And he looked pretty good. I mean,
he's up there in age, but I mean, he looks the same.
Looked pretty good and served his purpose. And then we get into the garage, whatever you want to call it. He locks the garage down, and we get down to some pretty nasty spots. Alex and I both picked Sammy to win this match. We just thought that there's no way you can have Sammy take an L here, but
Andy did.
We both got this wrong, and it was exciting. I definitely think that this was a a momentum shift to the pay-per-view. It definitely helped kind of elevate the pay-per-view from being maybe just okay to, all right, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah. And then, of course, Senior Benjamin is taking him away in his truck to close out the segment, match, whatever you want to call it. Okay, then we've got MJF against Chris Jericho. This match went a little over 16 minutes. I got this one wrong. Cole got it right. MJF gets the win via the most devastating move in wrestling. This wasn't it was a roll-up, wasn't it? Wait, no, hold on. Let me think. Why can't I remember how this ended?
I could tell you. Hold on. I had it pulled up. It says by pinfall. Let me go down to it.
If you guys are watching, remind us how this ended. I'm pretty sure it was a roll-up.
I thought it was a roll. That was 2 roll-ups in the same pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the schoolboy. It's the most devastating move in professional wrestling.
I'm scrolling down to it. Hold
on. But yeah, he pulled it. Actually, Bonnie said this right as I was about ready to say it. He pulled an Eddie Guerrero with the bat, acted like he got hit. Yeah, it was a roll up. So, Jericho's got the bat. MJF acts like he gets hit. Aubrey, the referee, Aubrey turns around, sees Jericho with it. And then MJF gets the roll up. I don't remember if he's holding the tights or not, but he gets the win. So, at the conclusion of a lot of these matches, I was left with that question mark of not of intrigue necessarily, but just like, are you sure that was the right booking decision? This is the one match where I was just kind of like, okay, I'm intrigued by how they're going to play this out with MJF being in the inner circle. What's going to happen tonight with his induction into the inner circle? To me, it doesn't make sense that you're going to have, and maybe AEW will do this because, again, they like to do long-term booking, but to me, it almost makes sense to induct MJF, but basically say, Wardlow, this deal never included you, and kick Wardlow, or not kick him out because he was never in. Attack him, do their little schmoz thing, and then Wardlow's a babyface, which is something we talked about last week. So, the match itself, I mean, to me, it kind of served its purpose, but that's kind of a lot of what Chris Jericho's matches are now because he's older up there in age. He can't do as much. Now, I say that, and he's doing a Hurricane Rana off the top rope. So there's some things he still can do and actually pull them off well. I mean, it didn't look like that was he didn't botch it. He didn't have trouble pulling it off. But he's not as quick as he used to be. I mean, he just turned 50 years old. I mean, it's to be expected. It was a decent match. It wasn't, match of the night or anything, but it was good for what it was.
I would say this. I'm kind of with you back on the whole. A lot of these matches afterwards, once we got the conclusion of the match, we're sitting there thinking, what happens next? For instance, we didn't even mention this with the Young Bucks. Kenny came out and celebrated, and we saw Adam Hangman Page sitting in the tunnel. Nothing came of it. Nothing came after the Kenny Omega Hangman Page match. Nothing came after the deletion match. Nothing came from the Darby Allin Cody Rhodes match other than
I was expecting a Cody heel turn.
Actually, Cody helped Darby Allin not get beat up by Brian Cage and Ricky Starks.
Which I hate that storyline, but that's just me. Continue.
We keep getting all these things at the end of matches. We're like, what's going to happen next? And I thought for sure at the end of this match with MJF and Chris Jericho, you were going to get some pushback by the inner circle, whether it was Jake Hager and Wardlow kind of really getting in each other's faces, whatever the case would be. All you get is Jericho giving him a big hug, and they walk off in the sunset together, and that was it. So I am interested to see what they do tonight. Long-term storytelling, but
agreed.
I'm not sure where you can go from here.
I'm gonna push this into high gear because it's 10 after 10, and we've still got a lot of show to cover. So, quickly, last match, Moxley and Kingston. Moxley retains. Wasn't a surprise. This match went about 17 and a half minutes. I was disappointed with how the match ended up turning out, at least as it relates to, weapons and things like that. I expected it to be similar to the Moxley Omega match from the year prior. It did have weapons involved, but it wasn't even close to what the Omega and Moxley match was the year prior. I didn't expect Kingston to win the match. That's what I said to Cole and Austin prior to the card even starting. I had said that would be the shocker of the night if Kingston wins the belt. And we've talked before. Kingston's great on the mic. He just in the ring, though, he's well past his prime. I would say he's even past his twilight. I mean, he's a brawler. He's not scientific wrestling. Not something I get into. I've never really been into his in-ring work. His promos interest me more than anything. So
Eddie Kingston just looks like your dad put on wrestling tights and went out to the ring. Like he just doesn't look like a champion. He didn't look like a viable threat to Jon Moxley. I've said this. I don't want to get too much into it, but there hasn't been really a good title match since Jon Moxley took the belt. And I'll save that a little bit more for later on the show, but this match was okay. I mean, I think I knew Kingston wasn't winning the belt, so I was expecting this to just be a bloodbath, so we at least got a good match out of it.
I was expecting a payoff at the end of this match because at this point in the pay-per-view, we had not gotten a single shock value kind of event happen post-match, so I thought there would be some kind of a dust-up with Moxley and Omega since he just won the number one contendership. He just came out, but they didn't do anything, and the pay-per-view just ended. Now, a lot of wrestling purists, I'm sure, like the fact that this pay-per-view was just straight wrestling, that there wasn't a lot of shenanigans, and I can respect that, but AEW has been good at pulling a rabbit out of the hat, a shock factor. They even teased, who's going to make their
yeah, I was going to mention that.
Like who's going to make a debut.
Who's next?
Yeah. And that's why a lot of us expected Sting to show up. He wasn't there. Nobody was there.
I had just mentioned, I was thinking, they like to have these guys come in and attack somebody big just for the shock value. I was like, what if Eric Redbeard showed up? What if this was where Nick Aldis made an appearance? What if, even if it was a one-time thing or a short little storyline, whatever, just to kind of get somebody introduced into the company or, whatever. Pac, they just had a little vignette for him. What if Pac came in and attacked, just something to kind of just end the pay-per-view on this high note. And we have an all right match to end the night. We have no payoff at the end of the match there. Kenny Omega comes out, no brawling, no nothing there. And then that's it. And
the pay-per-view just goes
lights
off
go out. There's no crow calls, nothing. It's just done. And we were just kind of sitting there at the end of this pay-per-view thinking, really?
like nothing?
Not a thing.
So I'm going to quickly transition into unpopular opinions. I had a few that I was going to discuss, but for time's sake, I'm only going to discuss one. My unpopular opinion is this. This pay-per-view I don't feel like was as good as a lot of people on social media made it out to be. Now, I can understand the fact that All Out, their last pay-per-view, was by far AEW's worst pay-per-view. They definitely redeemed themselves with this pay-per-view, but it's still, I disagree with a lot of people on social media that said that this was, I read quotes that said this was amazing. I read people that thought that this was their best pay-per-view yet. I would say I'd put it in the middle. I mean, they've had, this may have been their 7th or 8th pay-per-view, I think, something like that, approximately. Regardless, I'd put it in the middle. I'd put it in the middle of the pack of their pay-per-views that they've had so far, if not towards the back end.
Their first two are really great, and then Revolution, obviously, I think has been their best.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. But yeah, I think a lot of people, I agree with you, actually. I think it is an unpopular opinion. I think a lot of people thought this pay-per-view was, from top to bottom just solid, and I was kind of like,
It was solid, but I wouldn't say
I wasn't mind blown.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a solid pay-per-view. I mean, I'd put this, I would, as underwhelmed, I think that's a good word, as we both of us were at the end of the pay-per-view, I would still put this up against a lot of WWE's pay-per-views from this past year as far as, I know it's somewhat comparing apples to oranges, but at the same time, if you're looking at an event from top to bottom, not just the wrestling matches, but all segments involved, interviews, production value, cinematic matches, things like that, if you group that all together, I would still put this up against just about any WWE pay-per-view from this past year and say it was even still better than that, which is saying something that's really sad. But again, another conversation for another day. I don't think this was as good as, Twitter was lighting up with people as soon as the pay-per-view went off the air saying it was, again, people were saying it was their best pay-per-view outing or whatever their verbiage was that AEW's had. I highly disagree with it. I would put it at best middle of the pack, if not towards the back end. Again, I think this, I'd have to look it up. This may have been their 8th pay-per-view. I know they have their big 4 pay-per-views, and this is going to be the last one they've had. So maybe their 9th if you count like Fight for the Fallen and things like that. But from top to bottom, maybe solid's not the right word I would give it, but I would say if I had to give it from an A to an F, I think I said B+ the other night, I'd probably actually bring it down to a B.
Yeah, I said B-.
Yeah, I'd give it a B. There's just so many facets of this that really brought it down. The Sheeta Nyla Rose match, if you took that match off the card, if you don't even have that match, I'd probably give it a B+, maybe A-. That just brought it down so much. Or if you left it on the card but gave it like half the time, it just 14 minutes and 10 seconds is what it says here. It felt like it went on double that time. It just would not end. If they would have changed a few other things, like if they would have had a little more brutality in the Moxley Kingston match, maybe if the Guevara Hardy match didn't go as long, maybe if they would have moved around the Omega Page match to later in the card and had it go longer and have some more like planned spots so that match felt better. It's little things like that prevented it from getting into that A-, B+ category for me.
Right.
So that was my unpopular opinion. I'm just doing that one today because again, for time's sake, it's already 20 after 10. So
I will group my together because it's kind of the same topic. I believe AEW and WWE both have a world champion that should not be. I have not been happy with Jon Moxley's title run since the time he got the belt. Jon Moxley had a great match with Kenny Omega. He had a great... Who was the other one he had a great match with? Was it Pac?
Moxley?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because they did the match with Omega, and there was one other one. I'm trying to remember who it was with.
It was this pre-title run?
Yeah.
He had a pretty brutal match with Joey Janela.
Thank you. His matches in AEW were better before they put the belt on him. The second they put the belt on him, they have played it safe. They have had several matches that should have been way better than what they were, and it's almost I can't honestly I couldn't even tell you what his best match has been since he had the belt. There's not one that sticks out to me that's just like, man, he's killing it. And I expected more from a Jon Moxley title run. People who are behind it, that's cool. I get it. You're a fan. I like Jon Moxley. I'm not against him, but he should not be world champion. I think they should take the belt off of him and put it on somebody else, whether that's Kenny, Hangman Page, if it's Cody Rhodes, and they go back to that angle. I'd be even for somebody else. But Chris Jericho had elevated that belt in such a way without even putting on exciting matches. And Jon Moxley's promos haven't impressed me. I'm just not impressed with this title run at all. And that brings me to the next one. Randy Orton should not be a world champion right now. I have not been. Everybody wants to elevate him to this 16 title run storyline, whatever. I don't want to see it. Randy Orton's title runs have been boring. His title run right now is boring. I feel like him and Moxley both have better storylines when their belt is not involved. And so that's an unpopular opinion. A lot of people are behind Randy Orton right now. A lot of people are behind Jon Moxley right now and what they're doing. And I think it was so much more authentic and so much of a better thing to watch when belts weren't involved.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I agree with that opinion. I don't think we've had endless discussion about Moxley being champion on this podcast, so I won't go into that. But Orton, I also agree, just from the standpoint of it feels like they're doing it just to bring his numbers up. I would not be surprised if he drops the title and then wins it back again before WrestleMania.
Right.
I mean, again, like you
That's
said,
the rumor.
Just to get the numbers up there.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again with The Fiend, have him win the belt, but then lose it again through, like maybe they do I hope they wouldn't do a one-on-one match like they just buried him when they had Goldberg win it
right
a year or two ago, or earlier this year, I should say. But maybe they have like a triple threat match with Orton and Fiend and McIntyre, and they have Orton get the pin over McIntyre. I don't know. WWE, specifically Vince McMahon, needs to get away from his playing it safe because he knows Orton can go, because he knows Edge can go, even at their ages. He needs to stop relying on his guys that he knows are reliable and take a chance on guys like Keith Lee, guys like help me out here.
I'm just saying Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens.
Well, Kevin Owens went to SmackDown, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like,
I'm trying to think of people on Raw, and I'm still trying to get
Raw. We need to take another shot back at AJ Styles.
AJ
before he's done.
I'm still thinking pre-draft. I'm still like trying to remember who all
the
who all
Raw
went where.
men's team in general. I would be okay. Keith Lee, Sheamus, I'd be okay with looking at potentially having a heel run there. Braun Strowman, you could always kind of keep him in that conversation.
Apparently, they're changing him to a face now. Did you read that?
Doesn't shock me. He's kind of like Big Show. You always change him. Matt Riddle. I wouldn't be opposed to Matt Riddle being in that conversation at some point. Ricochet. I know like right now he's not in that conversation. Wouldn't mind seeing Bobby Lashley in that conversation with how good the Hurt Business is going right now. But there are so many people on that roster that you could just go down the roster and be like, why not?
The point is change it up.
Right.
I'm not saying have a title change every pay-per-view like they did in the early 2000s or whatever it was, but put the belt on somebody new.
Miz and Morrison.
Put it on John Morrison. John Morrison's never had a main title run in WWE.
It's an atrocity.
I mean, I don't know how many times he's been Intercontinental Champion. I don't know if he's been United States Champion. He's obviously been Tag Champion a handful of times.
He's like a 3-time.
He was technically ECW Champion. I'm not counting that.
No,
that's not a world title run.
Nobody counted that.
But I just
Steven said it best. The story is better as a chaser, not as the champion.
Yeah,
and I think that's a really good place to put that. So,
all right, guys, we're gonna transition here.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
I do want to let you guys know you can check out the Going Broadway podcast every week. We are live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central Time via our Facebook page, via our YouTube channel, and now via our Twitter page as well. So you can check us out on any one of those three platforms. Again, that's live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. If you're not able to catch us live, all of our shows are archived. You can go back and check those out at your convenience. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen are our social media platforms and pages. We're at facebook.com/Going Broadway Podcast. We're at twitter.com/Going BRDWI Pod. We're at instagram.com/Going BRDWI Pod. We're at that YouTube. No, YouTube's correct. We're at youtube.com/Going Broadway Podcast. We're also on patreon.com/Going Broadway Podcast. If you would like to become one of our patrons, we would greatly appreciate it. We do have 4 tiers that you can choose from, as inexpensive as $5 a month commitment to $50 a month commitment. Each of the tiers has their own perks and benefits. Anything from additional entries into all of our giveaways to discounted merch purchases. It's a free merch as well. So again, check us out at patreon.com/goingbroadwaypodcast. And speaking of merch, I'm going to throw these up. These are our Adam Cole Bay Going Broadway Podcast shirts and hoodies. They are $25 shipped for a t-shirt plus applicable taxes. $50 shipped plus applicable taxes for a hoodie. That is sizes small through triple XL. Any sizes above triple XL would incur an additional fee. However, I don't think we've encountered that yet. So, if you're interested in any of these, let me know. We will be having a special Christmas discount soon. And if you're interested in any of these now, I might just consider giving you that Christmas discount now. But we're going to wait to announce that because I believe we're going to have some different designs coming your way in the next week or two. So stay tuned for that. Anything else I'm forgetting? Did you want to say anything? I feel like with these promotions, I'm always the one talking.
Don't forget that we still want to give that belts away. The 3 belt.
Oh
giveaway.
yeah. I knew I was forgetting something.
We have our 3 belt giveaway. We do want to give those away, but we are still just a little bit off on a few of these social media accounts, so we need to step it up. It'd be dope to give it away before Christmas. So
yeah, so the 3 belt giveaway, I've already picked out the 3 belts that we're going to be giving away, but basically what we need to do is we still need to hit 1,000 followers on Twitter, which we're really close to that. I think we're like 992 or something like that. And we also need to get to 5,000 Facebook likes. We're about 4,400, somewhere like that. So help us get there. Share our pages on your social media. Help us get to those numbers so we can do the 3 belt giveaway. But if you do all 4, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, you get 4 entries into that 3 belt giveaway drawing that we will be doing. Like Cole said, hopefully we can get that done before Christmas. If for whatever reason we can't, we're still going to do it. It's just a matter of getting to those numbers. So, what do you guys have to say? Victor says, I need to know about a 5X. I'll tell you what, Victor, if you're interested in a 5X, contact me. I'll work something out with you because I know you're new to our pages and new to watching us, and we appreciate that. So if you're interested in a 5X, just get a hold of me. I'll work something out with you. Fear the Beard is here. I love it. I appreciate it. Yeah, the new layout we debuted last week, and hopefully we'll stick with it. How about free Christmas gift for favorite comedy poster, Alex? I don't understand. Do you know where he's going? Okay, that's fine.
Maybe he wants a poster of you. I don't know.
I mean,
I'm a little offended that I can't be in the poster, but
we could get some 8x10s made. That's actually
cool.
That's not a bad idea.
I get you. I don't know what to do. I can't. We're not comedians, but
Victor, you can send us a message through our Going Broadway podcast Facebook page. All those messages come to me, so let me know, and we'll get something worked out. That Cena banner, he debuted that last week as well. So that's
your time is up. My time is now.
And his name is John Cena.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna get that thrown into every podcast,
every show,
some way, somehow. I thought I hit the button to turn it off before I tried to do a fade out, and then I turned it back up, and it was like crap. Oh, okay. What do we got next? Fan mail. We got fan mail. So this is the part of the show where you guys send in your questions. It can be wrestling related. It doesn't have to be wrestling related. All that we ask is we, keep the questions clean. And in general, keep our chat thread free of, language, profanity, things like that. But ask us whatever you want to ask us. We'll tackle a couple of these. Due to where we're at on time, we might only answer 2 or 3 of these. So send us your questions. Actually, I want to answer one that someone asked earlier in the show. I gotta see if I can find it though. Let's see. Okay. Pal Opa, our friend Pal Opa on YouTube says, if you could do a dream match for the Young Bucks, who should they face?
Oh, I was just talking about this.
I mean,
I guess I need to know: Are we
sticking with AEW, or are we doing all?
No, I'm saying: Are we speaking current tag teams? Or are we talking all time?
No,
okay,
just
current tag teams. And you got to open it up. You can't just do AEW.
Okay, fair enough.
So let's open it up. Dream match, Young Bucks. This is tough.
I don't want to say New Day, just because I mean that's what they've teased that on their Being the Elite series for years. I mean, literally years.
If it was New Day, it would have to be Big E and Kofi for me.
You almost have to do a 6-man tag with the Bucks and Omega against all three of them.
I'm thinking just tag team Young Bucks. For me, I got
Steven. I mean, even though I'm not a fan, Steven says Usos.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, for me, and I mentioned this the other day to you. I was telling you I was posting it in one of the groups, and I'd asked this question. For me, it's the Young Bucks versus the Usos. The Usos are athletic as well. It's brothers versus brothers. Usos have been a prominent tag team. They're in my top 5 tag teams right now across the board in companies. I think that they've proven that they're one of the best. They've had plenty of title reigns as well. They didn't get to travel the world like the Young Bucks did, as far as from promotion to promotion and wrestle some of these other talented tag teams. They've kind of been stuck to what WWE's had to offer, which has sometimes been kind of lackluster. So I definitely would think, for me, Young Bucks versus the Usos would be an exciting match. There would be a lot of great spots, a lot of super kicks being thrown. For sure. It'd be a super kick party for sure.
Super kick!
And I couldn't imagine the things that they do off the top rope.
Oh, man. I'm trying to...
My runner-up would be Motor City Machine Guns, but...
That's who I was thinking, but I'm trying to think of a tag team they haven't wrestled before.
You got to go to some of those prominent WWE ones, though, that we, that haven't... I thought about the Undisputed Era as well.
That's. I mean, I'm gonna have to go with that because they might have wrestled them back when they were Red Dragon.
Right.
I'm gonna have to say Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah, there was a few that stuck out to me when I was having this conversation.
Ooh, Michael makes a good one. The Good Brothers.
The Good
Only because of the history, and I don't think they've ever wrestled them.
Are we talking in their primes, or are we talking about now? Because now,
yeah. See, I thought we were talking about just now.
If we're talking now, I just don't think that'd be a good match. I think
Jason says Cole will love this. Brainbusters against FTR.
Cole
would fall asleep in the first 2 minutes.
I wouldn't even watch it. That's such a Miz and Morrison.
Birch and Oni Lorcan. That's not bad. That's not bad.
The thing about Miz and Morrison is that their matches aren't necessarily that good. Their promos are what make the storylines so good. I'm trying to think some other tag. I'm not a big fan of the North. A lot of people like the North, but I don't know if I could even put them in that conversation.
Okay, let's tackle another question. If anyone asked one. I'm not a gamer, but I'll go ahead and ask this. Fear the Beard says Xbox Series X or PS5. I don't really.
Oh, I'm an Xbox. So here's the thing. I was PlayStation for years, and everybody that I knew was on Xbox. So as soon as I switched to Xbox, everybody switched to PlayStation.
Ouch.
So I'm done trying to please y'all. I stick with Xbox One. If I ever have enough money, I'll get a PlayStation as well, and I'll have one of each. That way I can appease all my friends. But I'm definitely on the Xbox train right now.
Jesse says best military gimmick. I got to go with Sergeant Slaughter.
I mean,
it's hard to go against that because that was what started them all,
right.
really.
I just don't even know if there is a better gimmick, from a military standpoint. I mean, you could kind of throw John Cena into that because he was always pro-military.
No, I'm just kidding.
Lacey Evans, you could kind of throw into that because she's military.
I was gonna say hers isn't a gimmick though. She was actually in the military.
Who is it? Jim Duggan? Was it Jim Duggan?
He wasn't. Jim Duggan wasn't.
He was the one that always had the American flag though. I mean, what are you calling military? Are you calling USA proud, or are you calling?
I think just
when I think military, I think like USA proud and. I don't know. Sergeant Slaughter would definitely be it if you're talking straight military, like dressed military, acted military, all that.
Yeah. Fear the Beard says Booker T as GI. I slightly remember that, but that was a joke. But anyway, all right. Well, due to the lack of questions, at least I don't see any, we're gonna go to Wrestler of the Week, and mine right away. Mine's short and sweet. Young Bucks, just because of the match they had. They won the tag titles. I've said before that anytime there's a title change, anytime there's a new champion, they're right away going to be considered for my Wrestler of the Week. So, and if I want to be specific, like if we can't do a tag team, if we're going to pick a Wrestler of the Week, I'm going to go with Matt Jackson just because of the injury, and it's a legit injury, so he wasn't selling it. Going out there and performing the way he did, he's the one that gets the pinfall. So yeah,
they were definitely on my list, but I'm going to go Darby Allin.
Okay.
Just because I definitely didn't think he was going to win. He shocked the world, I think, in a way. Great match for what it was, and TNT champion. Interested to see what we do here, but I definitely was the shocker. I had picked the Young Bucks, so it didn't shock me that they won. They had a great match, but the fact that Darby won shocked me, and is now the TNT champion. I have to make him my Wrestler of the Week.
Okay. Let's quickly preview AEW and NXT tonight. I'll tell you what. Which do you want to tackle? I'll do one or the other. Because I've got both of them pulled up, so you can.
Well, I tend to be a WWE guy, so I'll tackle NXT. I'll let you have AEW because you're
go
kind
for
of the AEW guy. I'm the NXT, the WWE guy. I feel
go for it.
But so tonight, for what we have announced on NXT, we have what looks like to be the main event. Lorcan and Birch versus Breezango. Interested to see how this turns out because they are definitely setting up a Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, Oni, Birch and Lorcan War Games match with Undisputed Era. That is definitely going to happen. So I'm interested to see how they build this storyline. They also have it teased of who will be next for the NXT North American Champion, Johnny Gargano. If you want to in the comments, let us know who you think that is going to be. My prediction is Dexter Lumis. I think that would be a great person to transition to. We also have announced Toni Storm versus Candice LeRae, and I expect this match to be good. I expect it to do what it's supposed to do, and I'm interested to see how Blackheart gets involved in this match as well. So NXT's
Andrew, Pat McAfee needs to get his teeth punted.
Hey, I'll tell you what, he is the most annoying person on the mic, but he does his thing.
He does what he's supposed to be doing.
What he's supposed to be doing, and he was actually pretty impressive in the one match we've seen him in. So I don't know if that was Adam Cole or not that helped do that, but we'll see at War Games. So I'm excited to see what NXT does tonight. I think just looking at the two cards, they both have some potential to be good, so you might want to watch both. But that is our NXT preview.
All right, and for AEW tonight, we've got, actually, I'm going to read Tony Khan's tweet that he actually put this tweet out this morning, actually about 10 or 15 minutes before we went on the air. He says, tonight we have a great lineup for AEW Dynamite. For the rest of 2020, AEW will keep delivering great matches on Wednesday nights. Plus, there are massive surprises ahead. Please join us on TNT tonight. The balance of power in wrestling will shift tonight. So, massive teaser there. We've got a singles match. Part 2, Penta and Rey Fenix. Got the bunkhouse match with Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall against the Butcher and the Blade. We've got a singles match with Tay Conti against Red Velvet. We've got another singles match with Matt Sydal against Brian Cage, and a couple of segments that have been announced with MJF's induction into the Inner Circle and Cody and his reaction to losing the TNT title to Darby. So that's what's been announced so far. I'm not sure which I'd be more inclined to watch first, and then which which I would watch right after.
I think that for me, I'm gonna watch AEW first just because I want to see the fallout of Full Gear, and I think that they have that going in their favor. Is that they just got out of a pay-per-view
with a lot of questions.
NXT is building towards a pay-per-view. And they're still in the early stages of that because, December 6th is still pretty far off as far as storylines go. Which, by the way, just to remind you guys, December 6th, we will be having an NXT watch party. We won't be showing the pay-per-view on here, but we'll be live as the pay-per-view is going on, giving our thoughts, our predictions.
It's more of a watch-along.
Watch along. So you watch it at home with us. Those of you have tuned into one of those. They're a lot of fun. We enjoy doing them. So that will be our next one. So join us.
Yeah,
December 6th.
That's a Sunday, December 6th, and it's at a. So we're gonna go on. It's either gonna be does NXT do takeovers have a pre-show?
They have a pre-show. They usually don't have a pre-show match though.
Okay, so we're gonna go on when the pre-show starts. So I want to say it's at like 5:30 or 6:30.
Usually about 5:30.
I want to say 5:30. So it'll be 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, 5:30 p.m. Central time. So we'll post more details about that in the coming days and weeks. But mark it on your calendar. Sunday, December 6th, NXT Takeover Watch Party. And who knows, you might have a friend of the show help with getting the word out about that. So wink, wink, stay tuned. So speaking of announcements, we're gonna wrap up the podcast shortly.
We're
But
gonna change the face of the podcast wrestling world right here, right now.
I wouldn't go that far. But all right, guys,
Let me build it up.
What?
I said I'm trying to build it up, Alex. Come on.
So I've stressed the importance of being able to watch this live if and when you can. I understand that this is, when a lot of people are working, and I totally understand that. But we've said over and over that we can't say thank you enough to you guys that do check us out and do it, while we're live. So a way that we want to say thank you to you guys for checking us out live is that we will be doing a free giveaway each and every single Wednesday beginning next week leading up until Christmas. So that means I think we've got 6 podcasts between now and Christmas. So 18th, 25th of November, and then the 2nd, 9th, 16th, and 23rd of December. This is the first time Cole is hearing about this, but we will not have a show on December 30th. So unfortunately, we will not be on the air December 30th, but we will round out the year with our regular podcasts every Wednesday. Again, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Join us live every week if you can, leading up until Christmas. So the next 6 weeks, we will be doing a free giveaway each and every single week, and it'll be to one lucky listener. Now, here's the catch. You're going to have to be watching us live throughout the entire podcast, because what's going to happen is, obviously with our new setup, you'll be able to see when we're doing the giveaway, at what point in the show that we're going to do the giveaway. But the catch is, at any given point in the podcasts, I'm going to ask you guys to reply with some kind of a keyword or catchphrase or whatever, and that's going to happen 3 times throughout the podcast leading up to the giveaway. So you're going to have to do it all 3 times to get your entry into that week's giveaway. Cole, does that make sense? Did I explain that right? So,
yes.
So like, for example, like if we're doing a giveaway and I ask you guys to reply with the word here, and you guys do that once, I'm going to ask you to do that same thing again, a total of 3 times throughout the podcast, and you'll have to do it all 3 times to get your entry to win whatever it is we're giving away. Now, each week's giveaway is going to be a complete mystery until the person receives it. I will say that one of the mystery giveaway items is that NWA TV belt that we've been promoting for the last few weeks, hence the hoodie that I'm wearing today. So join us live, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Doesn't matter which platform, Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. Any of the 3 will work. But at any given point throughout each of those podcasts, I'm going to randomly say, reply with the word whatever, and you'll have to do that 3 times throughout the podcast to get your entry for that particular week, if that makes sense. So one of the giveaway items is an NWA TV belt. There are a host of other giveaway items that I've got ready to send to our winners. As I've said before, I will only cover shipping within the lower 48 states. Any winner that lives in Alaska, Hawaii, or internationally would have to help cover the shipping costs. So Travis says, give away a monster truck, please. It's not going to be a monster truck. Spoiler. It's not going to be a monster truck. But one of the items is an NWA TV belt. Who knows? There might be more than one belt that I'm going to give away.
Ooh.
You just gotta tune in. You gotta find out. See if you can win something, and we'll go from there. So, and as always, guys, if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact us through any of our social media pages. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Jason says, can one of the giveaway items be that Cena banner behind Cole? He needs something new.
I just got it.
He just got it, so unfortunately, no.
I need something new. It's new. Oh, that's Jason. I'll disregard Jason. I know Jason.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Disregard Jason. He's just a Cena hater. It's all right.
Yeah, Fear the Beard won a Jake Roberts Funko Pop from us. Billy Jordan, I'm sorry. Yeah, no monster truck. I'm sorry, guys.
Man, there's so many people that want us to dress up for these posters as different wrestling gimmicks. It's pretty funny, all the ones I've seen.
Bonnie says a signed Going Broadway podcast banner. You never know. You never know. But that's the other thing I was going to say. For anybody that does win, I always encourage them to post on our social media pages what they've won. Just so you guys know that we're not pulling anybody's leg and we're not doing some kind of fake contest. So, but yeah, we'll start that next week. I'm excited about it. As we wrap up, any parting thoughts for our listeners? Any words of wisdom?
Guys, thank you so much for
any crow calls.
Thank you so much for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We are super excited that you guys are with us. Super excited to be able to give some cool things away as we go forward, heading into the Christmas season. Do not forget to get your Alex Cole Bebe t-shirts as your Christmas gifts, your stocking stuffers,
and hoodies,
and your hoodies, because it's getting cold outside. I know here it's shifted hard, so you're gonna want to get those items and keep a lookout for new designs coming your way soon. You're gonna want those. These are gonna be awesome Christmas gifts for those who enjoy our show. So you're going to want to get that. Thanks again for watching. It's an honor to do this again. Thank you to all our veterans.
Agreed.
We appreciate you. We love you. And we appreciate your sacrifices.
Again, thank you to our veterans. I echo Cole's sentiments as well. Billy Jordan was one of our winners as well. Billy actually won a belt from us, if I'm not mistaken. I think he won a Mid-South North American belt, if I remember that correctly. Masacholi, if you need a 4X, we can hook you up. Just send us a private message through our Going Broadway podcast Facebook page. Steven says 22 Celsius here. Or negative 22 Celsius. That's chilly. What's negative 22 Celsius in Fahrenheit?
To be honest with you, I don't math.
I don't math.
I don't math very well.
That is almost between 7 and 8 below zero Fahrenheit. That's cold. So, Victor. I'm so jealous. Victor's in Miami. It never gets cold there. Okay, well, if you don't need a hoodie, get you a t-shirt. I mean, I love hoodies personally.
Get a t-shirt, cut the sleeves off of it if it's that warm. Do what you got to do.
Yeah, that's true. Jamie's been one of our winners as well. So, we don't mess around here when it comes to our giveaways. We have real winners. They post their real winnings. And so I love anytime we can do giveaways. I get just as much joy out of it as our winners do. It's a lot of fun for me. It's a lot of fun for us. So that's going to about do it for Cole, for Alex, myself. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Tune in next week for our week 1 of our giveaways, and we'll see you then.
Bye. And good night, bye.
This podcast was a presentation of LightUpMedia.fm.